Well, my name is Heidi Danae Crane. I'm a professional actor and singer, currently located in New York City. I have a lot of stage experience primarily. I started doing film, maybe 4 years ago. I started doing independent film in Atlanta when I was down in the Southeast. So I got to have the real grassroots independent film experience, which was amazing. Just to work with people who had more passion than anything else. You got a really fantastic perspective of teamwork and making things happen, which carried over into this project for sure, because it was a new team for me, new production team for me, a new role that I'd never done. I never played a pregnant character before, and that was so interesting just to be wearing that piece and to realize that I couldn't tie my shoes. And, so I got to experience that firsthand, which was so cool. But yes, I came from a theater and musical background. I have a master's of music and voice performance. I thought I would be singing opera for my career, but then other opportunities came up, and I tend to walk through open doors. That's kind of my life motto. So if the door opens, I try to walk through it. And the door opened to me for film. This particular project really was an interesting crossover for me with the audition period. When we did the auditions, we had this fun collaborative trading out experience where everyone got to watch everyone else's work, and I've actually only ever done that for some plays and musicals. I never got to do that for film, and I felt right at home when you started doing that, and I felt like immediately everyone in the room was a team, which is what I look for when I do projects. So it was really fulfilling right from the get-go. Not to mention that you guys were auditioning much closer to my home than the average audition, so that was such a fun perk. I loved that. But I really appreciated that connection between theater and film from the audition process. After that, though, it really focused in on working within the world of film. So there are things that I have to change when I move from theater to film, and I was still only just beginning to learn how those changes manifest on camera. I had, like I said, I had a few years of experience before that, but it was really fantastic to get so much screen time with other professionals where I could really just live in the world of film and really manifest the small expressions and thinking the thoughts of the character and surrendering to those close shots and allowing my inner world to be enough for the audience, since they live so much closer through the camera than through the stage. And I found it really fulfilling. My character is Carole Hart. She is the young wife of Junior, the lead. And Carole was carrying a lot, physically and metaphorically, throughout the whole film. Obviously, because she was pregnant, she was carrying that.
Look, the nightmares are one thing, okay? But these migraines and the headaches, babe, they really worry me.
But she was holding up the family after the mother-in-law passed. She had to carry this weight of living with two men who were really full of grief and really full of pride. This generational passing down from the father to Junior of ignoring things that are not comfortable. And that really affected Carole. She has to come in and kind of cover for that and work constantly to bring together people who would rather be right than be close. So she had a lot that she had to kind of work around constantly. Yeah, there were several big decisions throughout the film. In the beginning, it was kind of about Carole recognizing decisions that needed to be made that were not being made, and having this kind of inner struggle of how do I support my husband and show him that he is loved and that he is important to me, but also gently nudge him to pursue things that are important, in terms of his health. So how do I encourage him to pursue his health without making him feel like I'm stepping on his toes or like I'm trying to domineer his life? This really kind of tough love manifestation. Later in the film, she has a greater responsibility to make these decisions, and in my mind, she was ready for those, not necessarily that they were easy for her, but I think that there were times when she wondered if she would have to make this decision. So I wondered, as I created her role, I imagined that there was, even if it was an unconscious part of her, that always kind of knew that she might have to step up and do what she thought was right and what she thought was best in the moment for her husband, because his previous choices were, pretty debilitating. The level that he was ignoring, the amount of things he was ignoring were pretty significant. And when you have people like that in your own life, you kind of make these action plans, at least I do in my own life, when I see these friends or family in my life who are refusing to address things that matter in my mind, that matter. Oftentimes I'll have a little, space where I have an action, list of like, okay, well, if this actually happens, then I know to step in this way. But that doesn't mean that it's easy, So when she had to step up and make that choice for him, there's a lot of fear that if he did survive, she hoped that if there were any repercussions from that treatment, that he wouldn't hold it against her,
I had a blast working with Adrian. He is so fun to be around. He's very professional and dedicated. He was very collaborative, which was one of my favorite things. We could go over a scene and just talk about how we felt like our characters felt in that scene, what we thought they were thinking. We were like always on the same page, which was awesome. It was just really organic from the beginning. Yeah, Rich was great. He had a really fantastic sense of humor off set, so he was fun to be around in between scenes. And during the scenes, he took his character to a real high level of professionalism. He had this kind of gravitas to him that brought the level of intensity way up when we started filming, and it really helped me as an actor reach the emotional intensity that I needed, because he really brought it on set. Working with Salvatore as the DP was fascinating because he had such an eye for light. When we were working at the house for the Thanksgiving scenes, I remember he spent so much time working with exactly where every light should be placed and all of the different gels. Like, I've seen more gels like in those couple of scenes I think I've seen in any scene since. But he was also working with a really intricate lighting situation in the first place, because the house was all windows right on the water, and we were dealing with all these light changes outside as well that we had to adjust to. And he was really skilled with navigating the different times of day and navigating what lights we needed. The few scenes that I got to see along the way looked amazing. So clearly he was doing something right, even though I had no idea what he was doing. I just got to watch the magician kind of at work. So Salvatore really, I would say that he had a very creative flair, but also wanted it to be perfect. And I appreciate that with a DP. Working with Richard was in the hospital, right? Yeah, so working with Richard was fantastic as well, because he seemed to be very focused on efficiency while still doing a really good job. So he he was a fun presence to be around because I felt like he was easygoing without compromising the goals of the team. And I enjoyed working with him as well. I would say the most challenging part of the film was that there were a lot of emotionally heavy scenes for Carole. And a lot of times I like to have fun with my cast and crew on set. So the scenes that we had that were more heavy, I felt the need to be a little bit more reserved in between scenes to stay in my character and to continue thinking Carole's thoughts. So I guess it's kind of a selfish thing, but I like to have fun on set. So as proud as I know we'll all be of those emotionally heavy scenes as well, and I'm so glad to have the opportunity to do those. They were hard because they were long hours, and staying in this heightened emotional state for those long hours took a lot of deliberate, intentional focus for just hours. Yeah, Chauncey is a very creative, kind of visionary type of person. At the same time, he focuses on getting things done right, which is a really interesting line to kind of balance. Chauncey had to play multiple roles throughout the course of shooting, really from beginning to end. Chauncey took like a million jobs, probably some that I don't even know happened. But he got it done. Even though it was hard, and there were, I feel like, just things that happened every day with like a light breaking or batteries running out, or all of a sudden it was time to eat and we weren't ready to take a break. Just all sorts of things like that came up, but he kept going and kept us focused as much as he could. And he clearly had a vision and the passion to carry that vision out. Yeah, Paul is a joy. Paul was so much fun to just kind of like chat with in between scenes when he wasn't really busy working on stuff. So there weren't a ton of times that I could chat with him, but when I got a chance to, he also seemed to be very easygoing, but at the same time knew what needed to get done and how to do it. And I felt like I felt very supported by Paul on set. I felt like he knew what he was doing. I'm passionate about sparking authentic conversation because I feel like when people can talk to each other and share their real thoughts, change can happen. And I feel like this film answers some questions that could spark conversation for families in the audience. Questions like, am I really taking care of my health? Or questions like, are there things that my family has been telling me to address in my life that I really should be addressing? Whether it's physical health or mental health or relationships, oftentimes we tend to push aside the opinions of our family and friends because they're always there, and sometimes they're very different from how we personally feel. But I love this film to encourage audiences to take a step of humility in their lives and to maybe reassess some of the things that their loved ones are telling them they're concerned about, because who knows what it could be.